This place can give you beach mornings, riverfront character, laid-back grit, polished suburbia, and enough room to actually build a life without feeling like you're boxed in. That is the moment people realize they judged it too early. Jacksonville isn't one version of Florida. It's a bunch of completely different lifestyles, all hiding under one name. You could be grabbing coffee in San Marcos Square, catching salt air out at Jack's Beach, before the afternoon storms start acting up, hanging around Riverside by Memorial Park, or living that newer community life out toward Nocatee and feel like you're in 4 different worlds. So if this city can feel that different depending on where you land, how do you and your family decide which part is actually right for you? I'll be real with you. Jacksonville didn't click for me all at once. It hit me on one random day when I went from coffee in San Marcos Square to knocking out errands near the town center, and I realized I was basically moving through 2 completely different cities before lunch. One side felt polished, walkable, dialed in. You have patios waking up, people out moving, the easy River City rhythm. Then 20 minutes later, it was all gas, all convenience, cars everywhere, errands getting handled, life running on pure utility. That was the moment it clicked for me. Jacksonville is not one vibe. It's a stack of different lifestyles wearing the same city name. And that's why people get this place wrong. They judge the whole city off one pocket, one drive, one weekend, and maybe one bad first impression. But once you realize Jacksonville can feel coastal, gritty, polished, practical, and straight up addictive depending on where you drop yourself into it, you stop asking where Jacksonville is good, and you start asking the only question that really matters: which version of the city actually fits you? And that is where the city starts getting dangerously interesting. Here's where people blow it with Jacksonville. They shop it like it's one city, when it really behaves like 4 or 5 different lives. Jacksonville works less like one market and more like a cluster of totally different lanes. It is a bunch of totally different lives stitched together by water, bridges, corridors, and local logic. This place is huge. It's a little gritty, a little polished, and way more layered than people expect. You've got more than 22 miles of beaches, miles of navigable waterways, and over 400 parks. And the official population is just over 1 million residents. So no, this is not some sleepy backup option in Florida. This is a real city with real scale, real range, and enough different lifestyle lanes to make people completely misread it if they only see one pocket. That is why so many people are looking here. Not because Jacksonville is loud, but because it gives you options, and I mean real ones. A lot of Florida markets kind of force your hand. You want beach life? Awesome. Bring the wallet and probably your backup wallet too. You want polished suburbia? Cool. Hope you like paying extra for every inch of that predictability. But Jacksonville can give you the beach mornings with salt in the air out near Atlantic Beach and Neptune, River City character around Riverside and Ortega, coffee and dinner rhythm in San Marcos Square, practical everyday ease around the South Side in St. John's Town Center, or master plan communities offering pools, trails, clubhouses, and even golf cart paths. That is the unlock. Jacksonville is not one market. It is a stack of submarkets. It is not one vibe. It is a stack of routines. Beach energy, river energy, suburban ease, historic grit, newer growth polish, and straight up daily convenience all live under the same city name. That's what makes this place so interesting. It can shapeshift into a lot of different versions of a good life. And I've seen that play out over and over. Living in Jacksonville is not about picking a city. It's about picking your version of the city. You get that right, and this place can feel like a cheat code. You get it wrong, and it feels like you moved into somebody else's routine. Beach life here is the fantasy for a lot of people, and fair enough, because that side of town sells itself. You got salt in the air, early light, sand stuck to your ankles before lunch, bikes rolling by, coffee in hand, Atlantic Beach, Neptune Beach, Jacksonville Beach, Beaches Town Center, even all the way out to Ponte Vedra Beach. That whole stretch feels active without feeling frantic. People are out early, somebody's walking back from the beach, somebody's checking the surf, somebody else is already in flip-flops and fully committed to the day. Hannah Park tells you a lot about that lifestyle too. You've got about 1.5 miles of beach, a 60-acre freshwater lake, and 20 plus miles of trails, so beach life here is not just about laying in the sand. It is motion, surf checks, trail rides, ocean breeze, a lot more outdoors, a lot more often. Move inland and Jacksonville picks up texture fast. Brick streets, oak shade, older homes, better lines, more story, less copy and paste. Riverside and Avondale carry that old Jacksonville soul where you can hit Memorial Park, drift through Five Points, grab something to eat, and it actually feel the city around you. Springfield leans grittier and more layered. San Marco leans cleaner and more polished. Coffee in San Marco by day, dinner and patio chatter by night. It's the same area, different gear. In daylight, it feels buttoned up and easy. After dark, it tightens up in a good way. Now flip over to the lane that wins on function, and that's Mandarin, Bay Meadows, Southside. Parts of Jacksonville that are less about putting on a show and more about making normal life easier. Mature trees, established neighborhoods, grocery runs that do not turn into full missions, dinner spots that are easy to get to, parking that does not test your patience, and a daily rhythm that feels smoother. That is the appeal. Not every part of town needs to be the same aesthetic. Some parts just need to help your life run better. For a lot of people, that is the real luxury. Daily convenience is the moment Jacksonville either starts feeling like a smart move or pretty inconvenience. A lot of people shop this city by vibe first, and fair enough, the beach looks like fun, historic looks cool, newer suburbs look clean and easy. Monday shows up and the whole test changes. Jacksonville is a node city. Your life here is not just your address, it is your orbit. It is the set of places you touch every week and how easy or annoying it is to move between them when life stops being cute and starts being real. A neighborhood can win you over on Saturday and slowly wear you out by Tuesday. Plug into the right node and the city feels smooth. Plug into the wrong one and every little task starts charging you extra. The practical loop matters here more than people expect. Bay Meadows, Mandarin, Southside, parts of that wider convenience belt. These are the places that do not always win the beauty contest online, but they win a whole lot of Tuesdays. Then you have the public amenity version of convenience, like South Bank, the River Walk, James Weldon Johnson Park, the St. John's River Park, downtown pockets where you can stack movement, events, coffee, and an evening walk into one part of your day without feeling like you drove half the county to do it. Jacksonville has more than 3 miles of downtown riverfront public space, and that matters more than people think. The city does not always give you density, but it can give you usable, scenic, repeatable routine if you land near the right setup. Here's a number people should pay attention to. Only about 35% of Jacksonville residents live within a 10-minute walk of a park. That tells you a lot about how the city actually works. Jacksonville is not short on amenities. It is uneven in how those amenities show up in everyday life. Live near the right cluster and it feels easy. Live far from your rhythm and the city starts asking more from you than it should. JAX is one of those underrated quality of life wins people do not fully appreciate until they already live here. The airport supports 90+ daily nonstop flights and connects to 40+ direct U.S. airports, which makes work trips, family visits, and weekend escapes a whole lot easier than people expect from a city outsider still underrate. Nobody brags about that in the group chat. In real life, it absolutely counts though. Outdoor life matters too. Huguenot gives you that weird Jacksonville combo where beach access, campsites, fishing, and bird life all show up in one place. South Bank gives you riverfront movement, Bay Meadows gives you pure function. Mandarin gives you a calmer daily rhythm. Every node pays you back in its own way. People knock Jacksonville for the exact stuff that makes it livable, and that is the joke. The city gets tagged as spread out, uneven, not polished enough, not centered enough, not loud enough. Fine. A lot of that is where the upside lives. Some places cram everybody into one right part of town and call that identity. Jacksonville gives you room to build a life without fighting over the same few blocks like it's a beauty contest. Call it sprawl if you want, but for the right person, it feels more like breathing room. That breathing room changes everything. Huguenot plays nothing like Bay Meadows. Ortega is a different world from E-Town or Nocatee. Atlantic Beach scratches a very different itch than Brooklyn or La Villa. The city runs on pockets. not one overhyped stage that makes real life easier. You are not forced into an expansive cool zone just to feel like you picked the right part of town. You can build around Atlantic Beach if surf, salt, and that coastal rhythm are your thing. You can live near Bay Meadows if your day needs to run clean. You can lean into Ortega for old school riverfront gravity or E-Town for smoother, newer, organized convenience. That kind of freedom holds up. A city with only one personality, I guess that would get old fast. The lower key brand gets misread too. People act like if a city is not constantly flexing online, something must be missing. I think the opposite is true. Places that spend all day trying to impress you usually start getting exhausting the second normal life shows up. Jacksonville has enough life to keep things interesting, but not so much ego that every coffee run turns into a parking strategy in an identity performance. A Wednesday here can feel like a Wednesday. That is the bigger flex than people admit. Plenty of cities are better at posing. Jacksonville is better at holding up. Luxury gets misread here too. People assume Jacksonville is either discount Florida or not serious enough to do premium well. Both takes miss the point. The local luxury threshold sits around 1.2 million, and areas like Ortega can push median pricing into the $700,000 plus range. Premium exists if you want it. The bigger win in Jacksonville does not demand premium just to make you feel like you are in the game. Normal life still has a chance to be the main character here. You can have riverfront evenings on the South Bank, fish camps and marsh edges in one direction, polished new construction in another, and still build a life that feels practical instead of performative. Jacksonville is not trying to win a beauty pageant every 5 minutes. It is better at something harder. It holds up under real life, and that is the real flex. A place can have water, neighborhoods, trails, growth, and all the right ingredients on paper. None of it means much if the work side and the real life side keep punching each other in the face. And all of that sounds great until the work side and the day-to-day side have to live in the same week. Picture 4 totally different people looking at Jacksonville for 4 different reasons. You got a remote worker who wants breathing room without moving somewhere sleepy. A nurse trying to keep life sane between shifts and school pickup. Then you've got a military family that needs a city built for movement, not just pretty photos. A corporate employee who wants work to make sense without handing the rest of his life over to traffic and stress. Jacksonville can work for all 4. Not in the same way, not in the same zip code, but it can work. And that is my point. Jax is not some flimsy lifestyle market floating on sunshine and vibes. There is a real work engine under this place. Remote workers are the easiest example. Jacksonville can be a cheat code if your paycheck is coming from somewhere else. Keep the same salary, lose the same pressure, and suddenly your week opens up. Morning coffee near the coast, more room at home, midday air instead of parking deck, a cleaner loop if you go south, more texture if you want older neighborhoods. Healthcare people read the city through a different lens. Mayo changes the beachside conversation in a big way. Baptist, University of Florida Health, Ascension, and the larger medical network give the market real depth. A city with one respected hospital feels different from a city with an actual healthcare spine. If your life runs through hospital corridors, clinics, admin space, or support roles tied to medicine, Jacksonville starts looking a whole lot sturdier. Military households already know how much setup matters. NAS Jax, Mayport, different routines, different map, different pressure points. Jacksonville has been built around that rhythm for a long time. Nothing about it feels forced. That is a real advantage for families who do not need a city learning military life on the fly. The workhorse side deserves respect too. Drop your move type in the comments. Are you a remote worker, healthcare, military, corporate, logistics, family relocation, first move to Florida? Whatever lane you're in, that answer usually tells me a lot about which part of Jacksonville is going to make the most sense for you. Jacksonville can still be a smart value move in Florida. Cheap is a whole different story. A lot of buyers show up with one headline stuck in their head. Jax is cheaper than Miami, easier than South Florida, less insane than the hotter coastal markets. And that's fair. Jacksonville pricing works more like a ladder than one clean answer. Arlington can sit in the low to mid 200,000s and feel like instant breathing room. Springfield, however, can sit around the 300,000 and still swing wildly depending on renovation level, block, and how much historic charm turns into surprise project. Mandarin moves into the mid 300s. Riverside can push into the mid 400s. Jax Beach has been hanging around the low 500,000s. Buyers here usually pay up for 4 things: coastal access, historic character, walkability in the pockets, and prestige or school zone comfort. Stack 2 or 3 of those together and the numbers start growing accordingly. The average price is not the useful question. The useful question is, what does your Jacksonville cost? Insurance certainly has a vote. Flood exposure has a vote. HOA and CDD fees definitely have a vote. Commute burden gets one too. A cheaper house can look brilliant right up until the carrying costs start yapping at you every month, or the route to work quietly eats your evenings. The reverse happens too. A premium location can feel worth every penny when the setup improves your whole week instead of just your listing photos. That is the real money conversation. Time is the thing people misprice here. Buyers look at the house, check the mileage, glance at the GPS estimate, and think they did the math. They didn't. The city runs on corridors, bridges, event clocks, and storm timing. Not just distance on a map. 95, 295, JTB, Butler, Acosta, Main Bridge, Hart, all of it can change how a week feels. 10 miles can feel easy. The next 10 can feel like the city picked a fight with you for no reason. A normal week tells the story fast. Clean days can fool you. Messy days, well, that'll tell you the whole truth. One weekday might feel smooth. You get where you need to go. Maybe squeeze in dinner. Maybe catch a walk. There's no drama. Then a Jaguars game slips your mind. A race weekend lands downtown. A festival hits. Fireworks reroute traffic. One bad variable later, and your quick drive starts turning into a whole different experience. Game day timing alone gives the whole thing away. Parking lot open 4 hours before kickoff, and guests are encouraged to arrive about 3 hours early if they want fewer delays. This is not casual advice. This is a giant sign telling you stadium era timing has its own rules. Bridge logic deserves way more respect here than people give it. Crossing one here, and there is nothing. Building your whole week around one is a very different choice. The upside is real too. Life here can feel surprisingly manageable when your map is lined up properly. Keep work, errands, school, and your favorite routines on the same side of town, and the whole city starts feeling easier. Bay Meadows can make life smoother when your loop is built around function. Beach living feels incredible when your obligations are not forcing daily cross-metro warfare. Downtown and South Bank can be a smart play when your routine actually belongs there. And again, weather gets a vote too. The hotter stretch of the year comes with a late-day storm pattern that starts flexing hard from July into early September. A pretty house with a bad routine is expensive. A well-placed house can make the whole city feel easier than people expect. That is the Jacksonville mistake people underestimate. Sunshine is the sales pitch. The schedule is the real product. Jacksonville rewards people who understand the rhythm and punishes people who move here acting like every day is a postcard. A morning at Atlantic Beach can feel perfect. Breeze off the water, good light, easy walk. February can make the whole city feel like it hacked the seasons. That part is real. You get warmth, water, greenery, and way more outdoor life than most of the country gets to touch. But by summer, the city starts reminding you who is in charge. This is not some neat four-season setup. It is a long, warm stretch with humidity, a wet season pattern, and late-day storm logic that locals learn fast. Storm risks start ramping up in late spring. From July into early September, the afternoon routine gets real predictable. Bright in the morning, heavy by late day. Thunderheads start stacking up. Roads get slick, lightning gets loud. Your quick errand suddenly looks like bad planning. That is why people here start earlier. Beach earlier, work out earlier, dog walk earlier. You either work with the weather or you will get humbled by it. And that is not drama. That is just Jacksonville, Florida. Hurricane season here runs from around June 1st through November 30th. And no, that does not mean everybody is running around in panic mode for 6 months. It means adults will pay attention. They know their zone. They know their drainage. They know which streets get weird after a hard rain. They know that water is one of the best parts of living here and one of the fastest ways to get yourself into expensive nonsense if you stop asking smart questions. That is where buyers get lazy. Standard homeowners insurance does not automatically cover flood. People miss that all the time. They hear Florida, they hear storms, and they assume one policy handles the whole problem. Wrong. Florida exposure has its own rules, its own price tag, and its own ability to ruin your mood when the bill shows up. A house can look incredible near the water, near a marsh edge, near a low spot, or near anything that feels special, and still come with fine print that bites harder than the view helps. And the weather does not stop at the flood zones. Heat changes how much you actually use the backyard. Humidity changes how romantic your outdoor setup feels in August. Salt, wind, air, and moisture all start having opinions about maintenance too. Okay, look, Jacksonville is a great place to live outside. Just don't be dumb about it. Learn the weather rhythm, understand the insurance story, respect flood logic. Stop shopping like one sunny Saturday tells you the whole truth. Once that clicks, the final question gets a lot cleaner. Who does this city actually fit like a glove, and who is trying to force a relationship that was never going to work? So who actually wins here, and who's forcing a relationship that was never built to work? That is a very different thing. Some people need a place with room, water, usable routines, and enough range to shape a life around what actually matters to them. That is where Jacksonville gets strong. Families with kids, remote workers trying to get some margin back, military household that needs flexibility, and a city that already understands the rhythm. Buyers who want Florida without turning every coffee run into a scene. A person who likes being outside, likes having options, and does not need their zip code performing for strangers all day. That is the crowd this place makes sense for. And it makes more sense than people expect. The place also works for people who like a little grit with the beauty. Not a mess, not chaos, just enough texture that it still feels like real people live here. Beach access without full-time vacation coast play, a practical week without feeling trapped into a boring one. Jacksonville can do that mix better than people think. Now, who usually fights the city instead of fitting in? People who need one tight, dense, walkable, transit-first urban core and want the whole metro orbiting around it. People who hate driving on principle. People who want instant visual coherence everywhere with zero learning curve. This place does not reveal itself to lazy shoppers. It rewards those who pay attention and punishes people who expect the map to explain itself. This is not Jacksonville failing. This is somebody forcing a bad match. The buyers who do best here usually know what kind of week they want. Jacksonville is one of those cities where guessing gets expensive fast. Not because it's impossible to figure out, but because one wrong area, one wrong routine, or one wrong assumption can completely change how this place feels once real life kicks in. We covered the lifestyle lanes, the daily routine reality, the work side, the real cost story, the traffic traps, the weather fine print, and who this city actually fits. I've seen people come in convinced they wanted one version of Jacksonville, only to realize a totally different part of town made way more sense once they saw how they actually live here. That is why "we'll figure it out later" is bad Jacksonville strategy. It usually costs more time, more stress, and usually a lot more money than getting the plan right up front. If you're serious about making a move, reach out to our team. We're the Jacksonville real estate team of choice, and our info is down in the description. You can call us, text us, or email us, and we'll help you narrow down which part of Jacksonville actually fits the life you want to live. Then keep the momentum going with one of our playlists. And start with best neighborhoods in Jacksonville, Florida, or every lifestyle, because that is a really smart next step after this video. It takes everything we covered here and turns all of this from theory into an actual neighborhood, so you can stop thinking about Jacksonville as a theory and start seeing where you actually belong. Thank you for rolling with me, and I'll catch you on the next one.